Okay, so this worksheet is called Fraction Busters. So to solve these problems, you need to eliminate the fractions. That's the whole point of doing these problems. So don't let the fractions scare you. What we're going to do is get rid of the fractions. So we're going to be getting rid of these denominators. Okay, so in order to do that, we want to eliminate the fractions from the equation by multiplying both sides of the equation by the least common denominator. So I know that when you guys were adding fractions and subtracting fractions that you didn't really like to find the least common denominator. That wasn't the method that was your favorite. But for these, you kind of have to do that. So in numbers 1 and 2, you only have one denominator, so you don't have to worry about it for those, but I am going to show you how to find the least common denominator when we get to those problems later on in the worksheet. So you're going to follow along with me on the first page, and then there's one other problem on the rest of the worksheet that I'm going to do with you, and then the rest of it you're going to do on your own. So for number 1, okay, since there is only one denominator and it's 8, you're going to multiply everything, sorry for that stray mark, by 8. So I like to show everything by 8. Okay, so we're going to multiply everything by 8. And if you do that, okay, these 8 right here, right, are going to cancel each other. Okay, so when they do that, I'm going to wind up with negative 3p. Okay, these 8s are going to also cancel each other, so I'm going to have plus 7 equals, and these 8s are going to cancel each other also, and I'm going to get 19. So notice that the fractions wind up going away. Now we just have a problem that has no fractions, and we're going to solve that one just like we did all of our other ones. So I'm going to draw my little river in. Okay, and I have to combine my 7 and my 19, but they're on opposite sides of the river, so I have to do my opposite operation here. So I'm going to subtract 7 to both sides. Okay, and those eliminate, and I have negative 3p is equal to, and 19 minus 7 gives me 12. Okay, next I have to get my negative 3 and my 12 together, but again they're on opposite sides of the river, so I have to do my opposite operation. Opposite of multiplying is to divide by negative 3. So I wind up with p is equal to negative 4 for my answer. Okay, so that method of multiplying by the least common denominator, okay, least common denominator, in this case we only had one denominator, so it was 8, gets rid of those fractions, and you wind up with just a regular old equation like we've had before. Okay, so we're going to do the next problem. Okay, so the next one, again, we only have a one denominator and it's 6, so we have to multiply everything that we have here by 6. 6, 6, and 6. So again, those 6's are going to cancel each other, okay, and I'm left with 5x. These 6's are going to cancel each other, so I'm going to get plus 7 equals, and 6 divided by 6 is going to leave me with a 2. Okay, next up, draw my river in. To combine my 7 and my 2 on opposite sides of the river, I'm going to do my opposite operation. So I'm going to have minus 7 and minus 7. Okay, that will cancel. Bring down my 5x. 2 minus 7 is going to give me -5. Then I'm going to have to get my 5 and my -5 combined. The opposite operation of 5 times x is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 5, divide by 5, and my answer is x is equal to -1. Okay, so those are the way to do numbers 1 and 2. When we only had one denominator, they were all the same. Okay, for numbers 3 and 4, we have different denominators. So I'm going to show you how we could find our common denominator if we have different denominators. Okay, so lowest common denominator. Okay, so to find the least common denominator, if you don't know it off the top of your head, what I want you to do is take the biggest number, the biggest denominator, which is right here, 4, and start listing the factors. So we would have 4, oops, silly me, 4. Does 3 go into 4? The answer is no. Does 2 go into 4? The answer is yes. But what we need is for both of these guys to go into it, for it to be the lowest common denominator. So 4 is not the one, so we're going to do the next one. And the next one would be 8. Does 3 go into 8? The answer is no. 2 does, but it doesn't matter because the answer for 3 was no. So we're going to do the next number. The next number is 12. Does 3 go into 12? The answer is yes. Does 2 go into 12? The answer is yes. So 12 is our least common denominator. Okay, so that's the number we're going to multiply everything by. So we're going to do 12 and 12. Oops, that's supposed to be 12 and 12. So this time, when we do this, 2 goes into 12 6 times. Then you're going to do 6 times 5, and your answer is 30x. Okay, 3 goes into 12 4 times, and you're going to do 4 times 2, and you get plus 8. Then last, you have 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 5 times 3 is equal to 15. Sorry, that's a little smushy, but it's small and I'm writing with a stylus. Now our fractions are gone and we have a regular equation right here. No fractions that we can solve. So I'm going to draw in my river. I have to combine 8 and 15. But they're on opposite sides of the river, so I have to do opposite operations. So minus 8, minus 8, bring down 30x, equals 15 minus 8 is 7. Okay. Now I have to combine this 30 with this 7. Opposite sides of the river means opposite operations. So the opposite of multiplying is to, divide both sides by 30. X is equal to, and you're just going to leave it because 30 doesn't go into 7, so it's 7/30ths. Don't be scared of getting a fraction answer. You had fractions in your question. Okay? All right, moving on to number 4. Our denominators are 5 and 10. If you don't know what the lowest common denominator is between 5 and 10, you take your biggest denominator right here, 10, and you start listing your multiples of 10. So you start with 10. Does 5 go into 10? Yes, it does. So this right here is our lowest common denominator. Okay, so that's what we're going to multiply everything by. So I'm going to do this times 10. That's a 10, not a U. This times 10. And this times 10, even though it's not a fraction. Okay, next up. 5 goes into 10 2 times. Then 1 times 2 is going to be 2x. Okay, then I have 10 goes into 10 once. 3 times 1 plus 3. Now this one isn't a fraction, so I'm just going to multiply 10 times -4 equals -40. Okay, I'm going to draw my river and solve my regular equation. 3 and -40 are on opposite sides of the river. Do my opposite operation. -3, -3. Bring down to x equals -40 minus 3 is equal to -43. Last, we're going to do opposite of timesing by 2 because of opposite sides of the river. So we're going to divide by 2, divide by 2. X equals -43/2. In this case, 43 divided by 2, it is technically -21.5. If you write that decimal, it's not a big deal, but you can leave it as -43/2 as well. Okay, you can always leave it as your improper fraction. Okay, if you're not understanding how to do this part up here, you can always rewind the video and watch it again. Okay, that's the whole purpose of me doing this video. So please, please do that before moving on. Okay, number 5. My denominators are 6 and 6. Okay, so for 6 and 6, Not much to figure out here. I'm going to multiply by, 6. So times by 6 times this one by 6 and times this one by 6. Everything gets multiplied by 6, even if it's not a fraction. Okay, next step, 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1x. You don't have to write the 1, but you can. Here, 6 times 4, no fraction to have to try to eliminate, so I'm just going to get plus 24. And then here, I have 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 1 times 5 is going to equal 5. Okay, draw my river. 24 and 5 are on opposite sides of the river, so I'm going to do an opposite operation here. Minus 24, minus 24. Bring down your 1x, or just an x. 5 minus 24 is negative 19. So x is equal to negative 19. Okay, number 6 is a little different. Okay, you still have a fraction, but this fraction looks different than the other ones, but you still want to get rid of it. And you only have one denominator, so the denominator we're going to multiply by is that denominator right here. My denominator is a 2, so I'm going to multiply by 2. So this is my fraction. I'm going to multiply by 2, and I'm going to multiply this by 2. Okay. So my next step is 2 and 2, that's going to be a 1. And there is no fraction over here. Okay? So what happens when you do this is that this just becomes a distributive property. So I'm actually going to rewrite that for you like that. So I have 1 parentheses 12 plus x equals, and then that was 2 times 8 is 16. Okay, and then we would distribute 1 to 12 and 1 to x, but that's a little silly because 1 times anything is just itself. But so we get 12 plus x equals 16. But I wanted to show you what it comes out to, because if it's not a 1, you have to distribute it. So let me show you distribute it. Okay, you would distribute. Okay, so now we have our river. Okay, so we need to get our 12 and our 16 together, opposite sides of the river. So we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. Bring down your x, and 16 minus 12 is going to give you 4. So that's your answer for that one. Okay, again, if you don't understand, rewind the video so that you can see it again, the whole purpose of this video. Okay, so the other one I wanted to show you was one like numbers 9 and 10. So we're going to do number 10 together, and then you can do the rest of the worksheet yourself. so that you can see what that's like. So we're going to do number 10 together, and then you'll do the rest of it on your own. So for number 10, again, we only have one denominator. It's right here, number 3. And so that means we have to multiply everything in this problem by 3. So we're going to multiply this by 3. We're going to multiply this by 3. And the right-hand side is really all one chunk because of that parentheses, and we're going to multiply this by 3. Oops, that looks like a funky 3. There we go. Okay, so moving on to the next step. Okay, this part, no fractions, so we just do 8 times 3, and we get 24y. Okay, next part, right here. Again, we get 3 times -6, and we get minus 18 equals, and the last part, right here, the fraction. 3 goes into 3 once, and that leaves me with a 1 times a 2, so I get 2 parentheses 6y plus 15. Okay, so next we need to distribute right here, because we have a parentheses with a number on the outside. So we're going to distribute that 2. This whole thing is going to get written again because we're not doing anything with it yet. So I have 24y minus 18 equals 2 times 6y gives me 12y, and 2 times 15 gives me 30. Okay, now I'm going to draw my little river. I want to combine my like terms that are on opposite sides of the river by doing opposite operations. Okay, I'm going to do my variables first, my variable terms first. Okay, I'm going to move my 12y and combine it with my 24y by doing the opposite. So minus 12y, minus 12, minus 12y. See, even the teacher makes mistakes. That cancels. 24y minus 12y gives me 12y. Bring this down, minus 18 equals, bring this down, 30. Okay, next I have to bring this 18 and combine it with this 30. Opposite sides of the river means I have to do the opposite operation, right? So I'm going to add 18, bring down 12y. 30 plus 18 is 48. Last step. Oh, this is a long one, guys. Divide by 12. Divide by 12. I ran out of room. Well, sort of. Okay. Y is equal to 4. Yay, we got the answer. Hey, I started writing really big and then I had to start squishing it. Okay, so you should be ready to do the rest of the worksheet again. If you didn't understand, then rewind, watch how to do them again. The rest of the worksheet is just like the ones that we did. Find your least common denominator by the method I showed you, and then multiply each part, and you should get rid of your fractions and get a problem that you know how to solve. Okay.